Hello, this is Taylor for CSC 110. This is quiz number 9. So the first thing I did was import random because we're going to be using that throughout all these functions, starting with function 1, which is going to return a list containing the results of rolling n fair six-sided dice. For this particular question, it wants me to roll 5, so let me run that one. Okay. So I started with an empty list, and then I wanted to loop through the range of n, which I have set to 5, so 1 through 5. And then through each of those, it appends the random number, and it appends it to the rolls list, and then returns rolls. So here I have my 5 rolls of random numbers. Question number 2 is then going to count the number of occurrences of an integer in the list. So let me run that one. Okay, and let's say we want to look for how many times 3 comes up, and then our list is going to be from the rolled dice function. Okay, and there's no 3's in this, so it returns 0. For this function, I started with initializing a count here at 0, and then I'm going to have another for loop. It's going to loop through the list that was given to me by this first function, and then every time it sees the number that I'm looking for, which in this example is 3, it's going to update that count by 1. I just had a print statement here so I could see the list just to verify that the count is correct. I'm going to comment that out for the next. Okay, and question number 3 is to roll the dice until the sum of these numbers is equal to 15. I also want no 3's in the list, and I want 1 4. So I started again with an empty list here, and I'm using a while statement because I don't know how many times I need to go through the loop, because it's going to continue until all of these conditions are met. So I'm assigning the roll dice 5 because I want to get this list out. I assigned it to x, and then I assigned the sum of it because I want to find the sum to y, and then I'm going to have that printed out at the top so you can see the list and then the sum. And then I want to append the list the list from here, from the roll dice, into my empty list. And then I also assigned T and F to the counts using the function in number 2. So this one's going to search for 3's, and this one's going to search for 4's. So then I have my if statement. So if y, the sum here, is equal to 15, and T, which is counting how many 3's, is 0, and if F counts 4 is 1, then I'm going to break from the loop, and then it will print out how many times how many rolls were made, which is the length of the list, and that's why I'm appending them up here. So let's run that one. Okay, so it took a while, but there were 165 rolls that were made. I'm not going to count this, but that looks about right. As you can see here, the sum is 15, so that's right. I see 1 4, and I don't see any 3's, so that is where it stops. Okay, and then question number 4. So I wanted to write a function that's going to roll the dice until a full house is obtained. So I started by first having a function that returns true if the 5 roll is a full house, otherwise it returns false. So I start by my 5 roll in here. I just assigned it to x. It'd be easier to write out the rest of my code. Again, I have an empty list, and then I also have a counter here. And then I'm using a for loop for this. I'm going to loop through this 5 roll, which I'm going to use as the roll dice, so that'll be a list. Yeah, and then for each of those, I'm going to append it to counts. So it will count the occurrences because I want to know basically like if I have 3 of the same number as well as 2 is the same number, which is in my other for loop here. So it'll loop through this count L, which it'll append these. So basically, every time an occurrence happens, it lists it in here. And then it'll go through that list saying, okay, if there's 3 of a number, I want my counter to go up. If there's 2 of a number, I want my counter to go up. And the total of that would be 5. So if the counter then equals 5, that is a full house, otherwise it is not, and then I can loop through again. So let's try that. I'm gonna move this. Nope. And then we're going to use the first function here. Oh, look at that. First one's a full house. There's 3 4s and 2 5s, so it returns true. And I just wanted to print out the list in this function just so I could see that it works before I move on, but I'm going to comment it out for the next question. Okay. Okay, so this last function here, it wants to roll until there is a full house, and it's going to include that last full house. So I start again with another empty list, and this one's going to list up the sums. I have another while loop because, again, I don't know how many times I have to loop through here. It's however many times until the conditions are met. So I've assigned X to this, which is going to create my list again. Here is Y assigned to the sum of that. And then I print it out so you'll see it nicely here. And then I'm going to append the sums each to this list. And then I'm going to come into this if statement. So if it is a full house using this function up here, this is kind of where I'm going to end up breaking from this while loop. So first I'm going to find the average using the sum of the sums, and then dividing that by the length of the sums, which is the length of the list here. I just have a little print space so it'll look nicer, and then I'm going to print it out the length of the sums, so which is basically how many times the roll has gone through, and then it'll print out my average and it will break from that loop. So let's try that one. Oh, all right. So over here are my rolls for each one, and then this is the sum. So if we add these up, 6, 10, 6, that's 16. So let's see, this last one here is a full house. There's 3 2s and 2 3s. I don't see any other full houses in here, so that's good. So it includes it and it stops and tells me this. And then there were 16 rolls made, and the average of these sums altogether is 17.625.